So you had the 200-mile stretch from Pelly to Dawson, and you had quite the adventure making it here to the Dawson City checkpoint.
I did.
Tell us about the last couple of days.
Well, you know, we did really well through Pelly, and we did well into Stepping Stone, and slowed down quite a bit on the way into Scroggy. So I was a little bit worried when we got to Scroggy. And then I went to cook dinner, and I realized I only had maybe, 2 meals left, and we had 100 miles to go. So I got a little bit worried at that point, but I thought, well, I think we can make it through. You know, we'll just keep going, and it wasn't too cold out, which is great. But then we hit the Black Hills, and my dogs have never quite run in hills quite like that before. And I think just the combination of events, maybe a little less fuel than they needed, and then rookie mistake, not packing enough. Of course, not really understanding the terrain that was coming up in that 100-mile stretch. And so they slowed down considerably in the Black Hills, and we had to take 2 extra rest breaks, at which point then we were pretty much out of food. And lost power, yeah. So thank goodness it wasn't 40 below when all that happened, and the temperatures were quite moderate. Yes.
So we've heard before that the Black Hills have been a bit of a challenge, but did you feel like that kind of played with the dog's ability to keep going a little bit?
Yes, my little blonde lead dog took one look at that first hill and actually sat down and turned around, and I was like, oh, we're in trouble. That's going to be tough. So we switched leaders quite a bit, and actually one of the leaders, one of my 18-month-old pups that was on the trip, first long trip, actually stepped up and led up some of those hills. But it was, when I say leading, it was certainly, they were walking and I was walking and pushing. And there were some times that we just did 100 steps and stopped and rested and then did 100 more steps and got to the top somehow. Yeah.
And you had a long rest in there. Were you at a cabin or?
No, just on the trail.
Just a good camp spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you were out of the wind and.
Out of the wind. It was kind of up on the top, near the top. We got past the real drifted in part, and then I thought we had started the descent, but I didn't realize that was just starting the switchbacks. But that's the point where we had pulled over, and they rested pretty well there, and we fed the last of our meals, and then when we took off again, the speed just wasn't, and not even speed so much as just power. Like we hit the hills and we were walking. Yeah. So that's when I realized that we were just gonna have to have some outside assistance to get some food in the house.
Yeah. And did you feel a little better, kind of seeing the plane fly over yesterday?
Oh, I didn't realize this plane was looking for me. I just thought it was somebody was out flying. But when I saw the snow machines and they just happened to have a bag of dog food, I thought that was a blessing. Yes. And that did get us through the night. And then again, hoping, we rested 8 hours, fed twice, hoping that they'd have a little power. When we woke up and then there was 4 fresh inches of snow with more coming down quickly. And at that point, it just became just too much for them. Yes. Yes.
And how did you feel being out there, kind of knowing that there was no teams behind you?
I guess I never, because I had seen the snow machines and they brought food and they knew where we were and that might be a problem. I don't think I ever really worried too much for my own safety. My big fear was that the dogs stayed safe. And we blanketed well, and they just, they're so amazing. They just bury down in the snow and get all warm and toasty. And they can be as warm in the snow as they can be out of the snow. It's impressive. Yeah. So, a little bit scary, and certainly some prayers were said that everything turned out safely. Mm-hmm. But I got to say the rescue guys were very efficient and knew exactly what they were doing when they got there. They were prepared.
How did it feel to see a group of Canadian Rangers and Canadian mountain police arrive on snow machine?
It was disheartening because I knew I was scratching, of course, but it's a wilderness adventure, of course, and you want to think you're self-sufficient, but when a mistake like that is made, it's just nice that there's backup support available.
Yeah. And I have to ask you about Sapphire, because while you've been away, the vets have talked non-stop about this little gem of a dog that's been hanging out at the vet shack that flew in from Scroggy.
Right.
So I just want to ask you about her.
Sapphire Jane is 3 years old, and she is the first litter that we ever bred ourselves. And her nickname is Pup because she just always was Pup. When we kept her from that litter, and we split a litter with another guy. But she is she's like that with everybody. She just loves people. And when we go on camping trips, she sleeps in the sleeping bag with whomever is her musher. We have a junior musher that's going to run the junior Iditarod in a few weeks, and of course, if she's healthy, she'll be on his team. But she sleeps with him in the sleeping bag too, if she can. And anytime we let her come in the house, she'll just tackle whoever's on the couch and just lay out on them. And she's a people dog. When she's done mushing, she'll certainly find a good retirement home, I'm sure. Although it probably will be with me.
Yeah.
I can't
Well, if
imagine
it's
letting
not,
her
there's
go.
a couple of vets who have already put
Well,
their name
yeah,
in.
and I have some good friends back in Anchorage that have on the list for her too.
Yeah.
But she's one you kind of don't want to let go of.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you had a lot of fans online that were, were checking in diligently to see how things were progressing, and you should check out the great comments that have come in. But it's really nice to have you here. And
they probably all agree with my insanity statement now, don't they? Entering a race is insane. It's a good race, though. The trail was great. I complimented Mitch over and over on. I mean, it really was technically challenging, of course, but certainly was as perfectly done as it could have been. And the weather was beautiful, and so I'm just a little upset with myself for that underpacking. I think that really hurt at a bad time. Just that bad stretch of probably the worst possible place I could have underpacked with such a long distance to go. But I guess just a learning experience.
Yeah. Well, good to have you back.
And thank you guys for all your support.
Thanks so much.